everyone, how's it going today? Welcome back to another group of Hubler Automotive Group Coach's Corner. Today I'm joined by my new and improved co-host, John Shepard. How you doing today?
Good, how are you?
Pretty good. And then today we are joined with the head swimming and dive of both boys and girls, Mr. Zach DeWitt. How you doing today?
Dude, excellent. It is good to be here. I mean, you guys are new here, but already just well-polished vets, so that's pretty nice to see.
Oh yeah, that's always the goal. So this weekend, last Saturday, you guys went in a conference, and you guys fell a little bit short in both boys and girls. You know, how do you guys plan to bounce back and just bounce back and go on to the next meet with a great mentality?
Well, I appreciate you being nice. We finished, we had like a 10 or 11 year run on the boys' side, and I think the 7-year run on the girls' side. So that was a tough pill to swallow for me personally, and I think the team. I've got a group of fighters. We probably were a little overtrained, and by that I mean they were just a little flat, a little tired. But we're starting around the corner here this week. I think we've got a good thing going. We've got 3 weeks on the girls' side, 5 weeks for the boys' side to tune up for sectionals, and I like this group a lot. We're learning how to fight. We're learning how to compete. Sometimes swimming fast when you're feeling a little beat down is tough. I haven't quite dealt with these issues in a few years, but nevertheless, I really like this team, and I don't think that us turning the page and moving forward from this point is going to be tough. Us coaches just need to continue to hold the kids accountable.
How has the leadership changed this year since you lost a big senior group in both boys and girls?
Yep.
How have the new and older juniors and seniors stepped in and helped out a lot?
That's a great question. You guys know from playing sports, leadership isn't easy. I don't think you can do it in 1 year. It's kind of a process. And so these leaders that we're grooming right now are figuring things out in their own time. If there's one thing I've learned this year, it's experience is the best teacher, and my team doesn't have a whole lot of experience right now. And so they're learning through those battles, and they're getting better as the season goes on. We're just not good enough yet, and they'll do that. But yeah, to your point, we lost 7 boys on one side. I think all 7 went to state. That's a pretty big class. And then additionally on the girls' side, I think we lost 5 seniors. So they were huge shoes to fill, no doubt about that. We're well on our way. I always say, the analogy of making it to the train station. We're not going to be there early, but I do think we'll make it there before the train departs.
Yep, like you kind of said that you guys are a very young team and you guys are trying to continue to develop. What is your guys' game plan to keep developing and trying to keep getting better and just be as ready as you guys can, be as relaxed and ready and not as tired like you guys said you were at conference? How do you guys kind of all put that together heading into sectionals?
Well, there's 2 things, not to give you guys too much coach speak, but you just take it one day at a time, one practice at a time. To me, there's one key point in every practice we've got to hit coming down the stretch. Like I said, for girls, I think, I don't even remember how many practices, probably somewhere in the high 20s, and for the boys, probably somewhere in the high 40s amount of practices left. And so I just think it's something that happens one day at a time. In terms of what do I do as a coach, the plan's in place. I really like what we do in terms of the way we rest and the way we train kids late in the season. It's produced results in the past, and I know it's going to produce results in the future. But for now, unfortunately, we just have to live in the moment and take it one day at a time.
With your guys' training between the boys and the girls, is there whenever you guys are at practice, is there a difference between how you train the boys and how you train the girls?
That's a really good question. Yeah, a little bit. The way you coach girls is far different than the way you coach boys. The way you talk to them, the way you motivate them, it's certainly different. A lot of times they do swim together and they're swimming similar stuff, but every once in a while, last year a little bit more than this year due to COVID, but we'll break them off as a boys team and a girls team and truly write them their own thing. In general, girls need just a little bit more volume. In other words, like a little bit more yardage than a boy would need. But aside from that, generally speaking, girls don't wear out as much as boys. A lot of times, anytime you have more muscle mass, you're going to wear out a little bit quicker during a training session. And so we see that level of fatigue with the boys. But to answer your question, yes, you do coach them differently. In terms of what they're written, what the practice looks like, it's pretty similar. Just the way you execute it's a bit different.
You guys have a great group in general. And how do people like Allison Lacey, who's been on this team for a while now, how does she kind of, when going to state last year, how does she, just provide great leadership for your team? Like, how does she do that?
She's a little different than ones in years past. Allie is all business all the time. She's a very serious girl. She works really hard. One of the hardest workers we've ever had. Her attention to detail is great. So for her, it's really more like leadership by example, and she does that well. No one's going to outwork her. That's kind of like her promise to herself, and I think that kind of sets the tone for the girls' team. She is a cutthroat racer, and a lot of times the way she exudes that confidence at a meet, that crap's contagious. And so that's kind of her leadership style. But I think for everybody it's a little bit different. But for her, leadership by example, and then just the internal confidence. It's not really outward. She doesn't talk a whole lot of crap. But she's a great girl, and she exudes this level of confidence. But I think that comes through preparation, really.
With both two young freshmen as a boy and a girl, Jacob Meisinger and then Lily.
Mm-hmm.
How are they kind of, since they're kind of top, how are they doing with being very unexperienced in high school and just basically like working into their like varsity level?
Yeah, excellent question. I'll talk on Meisinger a little bit first. Meinzinger's got just a little bit less experience than maybe Lily. He's incredibly talented. He's got a very bright future. Learning to work hard for the first time, and that's not a shot at him. I just like the expectations at the high school level are a little bit different than at the middle school level. And due to that, there's just this growth period. And I was telling you guys, like, experience is the best teacher. He's just getting experience. He's a little beat down right now, definitely more tired than probably even he should be. And a lot of times, like, figuring out how to race fast while feeling not great is difficult. So struggling with that. Next month, I can guarantee he's going to turn the page and turn the corner. I think he's got a monster sectional head. I think he's got a bright future. Definitely one of our future leaders here at Franklin. As for Lily, she's probably the most talented girl we've ever had here, and that's pretty special considering we've had Olympic trial qualifiers and we state runner-ups. We haven't quite had a state champ yet. But she's as good as any one of them, if not better. She, too, is learning how to grind, learning how to race while tired. She's got a natural chip on her shoulder, which makes her a nice candidate come race season to really blossom. But I don't know. I don't know if she's lacking anything. She just needs a little bit more rest than what she's got now.
Like you said, you guys train a lot. Most mornings before, most days after. I see you guys in the weight room all the time. That's a lot of training. How do you make sure that all your swimmers have a good mentality and are just ready to go every single day?
That's $1 million question. I don't even know if I can answer that. I think we do a nice job. We have Monday meetings and we talk about every day and what that particular practice is going to look like, what the expectations will be at that practice. I think that helps like a young mind wrap their mind around like, what's my job here? What's my role on this particular team? As for motivation, it comes in ebbs and flows. There are parts of the season where, kids are really struggling with motivation to get there. But I think remembering why you're there and what's at stake is important for motivation, and hopefully, like in any sport, whoever you are, you're going to hit that, and do you know how to navigate through that? And which is, again, always knowing what your job is, knowing what your role is on the team, and then what's at stake if I am to do well versus if I'm to disengage completely. So I don't know if I'm the guy to answer that perfectly, but that's how we think about it.
So what's your, like, going into, like, sectionals and going into state, what's your guys' like, mentality knowing, like, you guys have to go against a really tough Carmel team that's won in, is it over 30 years in girls?
Yeah.
Something like that. Like, how do you guys, like, prepare and, like, to go against that?
Again, you're going to think that I'm like speaking in coach speak. This really isn't the case. Like, it's the only way you can be successful is to focus on yourself. If you spend enough time, focusing on Carmel, you realize how good they are. But that doesn't help us swim fast, like by focusing on what they do well. It's not quite like a sport where you game plan for a team and you're trying to take away their strengths or weaknesses or whatever it might be. It's a little different than that. We just need to focus on ourselves and make sure that we know what makes us good and then what we need to do well in order to execute. But no, Carmel's a machine. I don't know. They probably pump out 10 girls a year that go on to swim Division I. That's every single senior class. Got the longest streak in the nation. I think it's going to be 36 this year. But, they're filthy. They've got a great underclassmen crew. They're not going anywhere. But I don't typically worry about them a whole lot. It's normally in my own foxhole trying to worry about my own kids.
Like you said, Franklin's normally a big rivalry with Whiteland.
Yep.
And your cousin is as we were talking, is the head swim coach at Whiteland.
Correct.
How does that entice the rivalry more than it already is?
That's a great question. I don't know if it makes it any more interesting. I've got a lot of love for my cousin. He's a wonderful person, incredibly generous, thoughtful, etc. I like to be on top. I certainly, as the older cousin, want to beat him down a little bit. But in terms of does it throw a little salt and pepper on the rivalry? I'm not really sure about that. I don't know if our kids feel like we have necessarily a rivalry with Whiteland, but we do know that that's an important thing within our schools to beat Whiteland in everything. And so, we're all business when we swim against them. But after the meet's over, it's not like something that comes home to Thanksgiving or something like that. I'm not talking crap over a turkey field dinner. Yeah.
And thank you everyone for joining us, Mr. DeWitt. It was a pleasure having you, John. Good work today. And thank you for joining us for another episode of Hubler Automotive Group's Coach's Corner.
Hubler is proud to be the official sponsor of Franklin Athletics. Score massive savings on all your favorite brands. Plus get our 10-year, 200,000-mile warranty included. For all auto needs, just click drivehubler.com. Let's go Grizzly Cubs!